you okay? She's crying. Why didn't you cry already?
I think I have allergies or something. Only this eye will just always be so
watery.
Yeah. And then you know when you can only breathe out of one nostril?
Are you having a stroke? Is it like one-sided? Can you only breathe through your right?
Oh my god.
I hope
Stick out
not.
your tongue. Okay, you're fine.
Other than your adult eczema.
Yes.
How was your week?
How was my week? Yeah. It was farking amazing. I think
Farking
that's my
amazing.
new word. I think I said it like 3 times during our call today. Yeah, it's my favorite word, farking. Like, that's so farking awesome. You're farking great. I don't know where I even got it from. Like, I don't even know. Don't even ask.
What do you mean you don't know where you got it from? That's straight up from Gloria. She's like,
Oh, is it really?
She's like, what the fuck?
Okay, that answers. I was like, why am I? No, because I literally was like, why did I start saying this word? Like, literally, I was like, why is this in my brain vocabulary? Like, why do I know this word? Oh, all right. So sorry. Credits to Gloria, but yeah, I just started saying that like a lot.
Oh,
I think it's
yes.
fucking awesome. And this week was really good. I just feel like everybody was nice this week. You know?
Oh,
You know?
That's nice.
Yeah, except for my eyes. But yeah, I got like somebody just randomly gave me a Starbucks gift card at work. Somebody pinged me and was like, "Hey, you want some like chocolate covered strawberries?" Yeah, I do.
Yes.
And like just like, "Hey, Julie, here, have a cookie." I was like, my God, people love me.
Oh my god.
But yeah, people were just really, really nice this week. And I also had a mental rest day last week, and it was really nice because I feel like my dad really missed me. Yeah, I don't know if you guys, relate, but like, I mean, dating is hard, right? Dating, work, school, family, it's a little hard, and I feel like I need to like condition my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to condition him to normalize like me hanging out with him like once every maybe 2 weeks, because I feel like I gave him too much attention my entire life.
You gave your dad too much attention your entire life?
My dad, not my boyfriend, my dad.
Oh.
So it's like I think he feels, yeah, he was definitely be just at me. He was be just.
Oh, because you're hanging out with your boyf?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense. I feel like that was like grandma, or I mean, grandmas are just like so blunt, especially like Korean grandmas. But she was like, "You need to spend time with me right now because I know when Grant comes back, you're gonna leave me." I was like, "Oh,
She said that?
yeah,
Exactly.
But yeah, so I can feel that.
So yeah, I don't know. It was supposed to be a mental rest day, which it completely was, but I feel like it was more of a like a little play date.
Play date with your dad?
Yeah, with Daniel.
With
type of day.
Daniel?
Yeah,
Daniel
with
John?
Daniel. Yeah, with Daniel.
Oh,
Creativity.
dang. Wow. I'm really glad you had a good week. Yeah, I've also been feeling like really, really grateful this week. I think that's something that I've been like wanting to practice, is just gratitude and just like living in the present and not like so much worrying about the future. And I feel like this week especially, I just felt like lots of love from family, from friends, from strangers. And then for our church, we have like small groups. We call them bridge groups. And we were on a break for like a couple months, right?
Long time,
yeah, it's been a while. And I think I forgot like how nice it is to like connect with people. So it was really nice like just seeing everyone. So yeah, it was a good week. Also, we live in the same house, Kara. But
Do you?
we live in the same house, but at the same time I'm like, oh, I don't think I talked to you like too much, so how you been?
Great segue.
I literally can hear you through the wall sometimes.
Me too.
But I
hear
don't-
everything.
Oh Jesus.
Oh,
Okay, how am I? I'm good. I also feel like it's funny that you guys both said like people were just being randomly nice, because I also weirdly had this group project in my occupational therapy class. And we had a group project and no one was helping like usual. And then one of one guy in my group, he was like, oh, let's call, like I can help you out. And then after we like finished talking about the project, he like genuinely seemed like just so interested to like get to know me. Like it wasn't just like a let's do this and like dip, you know how it usually is, but he really like we talked for like an hour after, and like we just got to know each other, and then I literally started crying. I felt crazy because I was like, this is the first like time someone has like I don't know, someone random, I like barely knew him, you know, who like just wanted to like talk and like see how I was doing. So that was like the highlight of my week. The rest is pretty much the same every day, but I am finding that I'm like appreciating like the little, like those little things more, because before I would, you know, that would just kind of go over my head. But so yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so sweet.
that is really nice.
I also bought these clothes. This whole outfit is new, and I opened it literally right before this, and I love it.
I love it too.
Thank you. It's from Genie Pick. It's like I think that's the name, but it's like a Korean brand. Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
It's like JINNI, like pick, right?
Yeah.
It's really cute. Like
showed up on my Insta ad, and then I
ordered something from an Insta ad before,
and
it never came. I want my $19.99 refunded.
Oh gosh. But yeah, thank you guys for just always supporting us. We've been feeling a lot of love lately, and I think that like this is just going to be like a really special episode because we have my sister on the podcast.
Hi.
Her name is Kara Lee. Kara Skye Lee. Hana. Hana. Sky is spelled with an E. Yeah, just a bit of background on our relationship. So after my sister was born, she came home, and about 2 weeks later, apparently I asked my parents, oh, when can we return her to the hospital?
This is true.
14-day refund. No, all jokes. But yeah, we are about like 3.5 years apart. So yeah, I'll let her take the floor.
Hi, I'm Kara. I am Hannah's younger sister. I am currently at USC studying communication. I'm a third year. And yeah, just a little bit about myself. I'm a dancer, so I spend a lot of time doing that. I'm on I was on 2 dance teams at USC. Now I'm just on one. And
What are the dance teams?
so I was on the USC Song Girls, which is kind of like the cheerleaders at USC.
Like literally at the football games.
Yeah, so like the pom-poms at the football game.
The pom-poms.
The big ass 5-pound pom-poms that I had to dance with. And then my other team is Chaotic 3 or C3, which is like a hip hop.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of I don't know if embarrassing is the right word, but everyone in our family has gone to USC. So
I think it's really cute.
oh,
I think it's so cute. No?
No, yeah, I think it's cute.
Like, or just to see, like, you know, I feel like I'm such a loyalist, you know, a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
prideful person. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so nice that all 4 of you guys can dress up together and, you know, go to the Coliseum
And fight
yeah,
on.
and fight on
Yes.
together.
No, yeah, the Trojan
together.
spirit is strong in this house.
oh yeah, it's a literal Trojan family.
But even though it's cute, it definitely like came with, I guess, like cons as well. Because like obviously you, Hannah, for those who don't know, you graduated early from high school. So you went to USC right after junior year.
Well, actually, she didn't graduate from high school.
Right. You're actually right. She's a high school dropout. Damn. But it's okay because you ended up at SC. But because of that, and because our parents were both Trojans, when I was like applying, it was also just like everyone was kind of like asking like, oh, are you gonna do that program as well? Like, are you gonna graduate early? And there was already that pressure on me because I saw Hannah graduate early, and so that was tough. And like I think it was almost worse because I saw the way that mom and dad pushed you and how hard they pushed you. But then when it came to me in high school, it was almost like the opposite because they didn't really push me at all. And so
interesting.
Right? Isn't that yeah. And so I felt like it was like this unsaid pressure that I had on myself because I knew if they pushed Hannah like that, they obviously, want to do the same. But and right now I know that they didn't because they didn't want to burn me out because that's what they feared for Hannah.
But they did it to Hannah anyways?
Well, it's because it was like their first child. It was their first time parenting. And so, all the other Asian parents are pushing their kids like crazy. And so, they did that for Hannah. And then when it came to me, I think they were kind of scared that they already burned Hannah out. So they didn't want to do it with me. However, for myself, my thoughts when they weren't pushing me was, oh, are they not pushing me because they don't think I can do it? Or they don't think I can be as great as Hannah was almost. And so I think that that gave me a lot of pressure rather than them actually like explicitly pressuring me to do well.
That's so crazy because like I actually really wanted that for myself. Because I felt like the people who really excelled in my year, because I have a younger sister too, who's, your age. And I never wanted like my younger sister to feel like doing well in school was for my parents. Because I feel like you do better when you know it's for yourself, right? And like that's my problem with like helicopter like moms or like tiger momming is like when I'm working so hard to please my parents and then you get to kind of that pseudo goal that you thought you were working towards, like once you get there, it's like you loosen up too much. Because now that goal's kind of gone. You haven't really set good like habits for yourself either. So for example, like right, I felt like there was so much pressure on me all of high school, and then I got to college, and you know what my first thought was? I'm not going to join anything. That was my thought.
Really?
Because there was just so much pressure on me. Like I had to be in student council, math club, Christian club, blah, blah, blah club, and, the volunteer hours and all this stuff that, I mean, ASB, I truly did like it, but, like for the other stuff, did I do it like for myself? Like, did I really, really want to do it? Or was it a more transactional, like, I have to do this to either make my parents happy or, just like, was I really passionate or into it to begin with? So shallow surface level.
Wow. I actually this brings me back because I think that growing up, like at the very beginning, don't get me wrong, like my parents like put a bit of pressure on me, but I think at a certain point of like, constantly feeling pressured through elementary school and middle school, like I began to like put that pressure on myself. Like I remember freshman year in geometry class of high school, that's when I got my first B ever in my life, and I straight up had a breakdown.
All hell broke loose in the house.
Let me
tell you.
My friends were over, and I was in my bathroom. I locked myself in my bathroom while my friends were in my room, and I was bawling. Like it was like my world was straight.
This is a true story.
I was like, did you say a B plus?
Oh, girl.
A B?
That's the thing is I was so close. I was like at an 89.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the worst.
And so I had a straight up breakdown, and it wasn't because of my parents. It was because of the pressure I had put on myself. And I actually forgot about that because I think that like in recent years, I'm always like trying to find someone to blame for like where I am in my life. And I think that like naturally my parents were just like the easiest people to blame. So even like when I went to USC and like wasn't necessarily having the time of my life, I was like, oh, it wasn't my decision to go to USC. Like, it was my parents. And then now looking back, like, I'm like, damn, should I have done that? And I almost like try to look for other people to blame rather than like taking the responsibility on my own. But ultimately, like, that is just completely like wrong. Like, I need to be like taking responsibility for my actions, because ultimately, like, I'm the person living this life. I'm the person like making my decisions. And so, like, your story just, like, brings me back to how, like, I think I used to take a lot more responsibility for my own actions, but in more recent years, it's been, like, because things aren't working out for the first time, I'm more, like, oh, this isn't my fault.
I think that's also plays a part in why mom and dad didn't want to push me or, like, lead me one way or one career path, because they didn't want to be blamed, because they felt like they're like, was it our fault that Hana is not having a fun time? Like, should she have not like graduated early? I think that like really kind of like scared them. And so for me, it was like, let's just lay off. Let's just let her do what she wants to do. But because I witnessed what you went through and what kind of they went through with you, them not doing that for me, I don't know, was just, it really felt like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not as smart as Hana, so why even push her? And that stemmed all from my insecurity of looking dumb. And I think that just started, I just remember like in my childhood, I don't remember my childhood really, but the one thing I literally
You just blacked out.
No, yeah, I don't remember anything until like middle school and on. Like, I don't remember.
That's
shit.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. But the one thing I remember is like people like saying things. Kids are just mean and they'll just say whatever they want to say. But yeah, memories of people saying like I'm dumb, or there's this one memory where I was at JFK airport and I was like, what does JFK stand for? And then some random old ass dude was like, you don't know what JFK stands for and you're how old? And at the time, like, okay, I was a fat ass baby, like, or like a child. And so I looked like 3 years or 4 years older than like I actually was. And like that, I already had the insecurity of like looking dumb. And like, so me asking that question and someone like shutting it down, like, oh, how do you not know that? It like fucking like stayed with me. And so I think that like my mentality of like, oh, my parents think I'm dumb and that's why they're not pushing me, that all stemmed from like just that insecurity that has stayed with me for so long. And I think it still like carries on today and is the main motivator, honestly, of like the things or the stuff that I've like tried at and like succeeded and stuff.
Right. I mean, like, growing up with, like, for you, Julie, what was it like in your household?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I had a very good balance. Like, my mom was kind of more, like, she was more results based, right? And my dad was all about the effort.
Oh.
But then that also, like, I mean, if you tie the two together, I don't know, if you really put in a lot of effort, you should be able to get the good grade. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how I thought. So even if I didn't get an A, like, my dad was always very like, it's okay, like, as long as you tried hard. And so I feel like I have a good balance. I don't know. I was never really about like all the grades. I feel like very like early on, I was very much so just, if you are just good at what you want to do, like, you're bound to make money from it. You're bound to succeed. That was always just kind of my mentality. But I did have a lot of friends who were always in like advanced math, like in the GATE program, and like, you know, like in 8th grade, like going to high school and taking like half of their classes in high school when we were 8th graders.
Right.
And so not being in that, maybe then I was like, oh, I wish I was like with them, like in this advanced class. But I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I wasn't, whatever. But therefore, for my younger sister, I don't know, like a part of me like was always really happy that I was kind of the like example practice child, because like she had the opportunity to enroll in the quote unquote right classes to help her excel. And I don't want to speak for her, but I feel like the pressure didn't pan out so hot.
I see.
like I feel like, you know, our friend recently has been saying nature versus nurture a lot, and I think all of us obviously don't experience the same thing, but when you are given those opportunities, I think it takes a specific type of person, right, to
I think I know
right?
what you're saying. I think a lot of it is personality based.
Yeah.
And it's whether like, because there's certain people who are they're just driven naturally. But then there's others where that pressure will not motivate them, but it will paralyze them. Yeah, and I think a lot of Asian parents do not realize that there are different types of personality, and like people handle pressure just so vastly different. And it's like, I think that's a part of like the parenting where it's like you need to understand your child first before you do what you did. What worked for one may not work for the other, and like I think that also we realized that in quarantine. I think our parents realized that, and we realized that we're polar opposites in just our personalities and how we handle things. And I guess I can say for me and my personality, it was less of like my parents, like I said earlier, parents pressuring me. I think it's just my natural personality to like, it honestly stems from wanting to prove people wrong or trying to show them that like I'm not just Hannah's younger sister. I'm not just going to SC because everyone else went to SC. It was like I actually worked for it, but when people like doubt that, that's when like I get so angry that I want to do more, and I just try to do everything, and I try to seem like I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this in all different aspects. But I think too much of a good thing is always a bad thing, and so I think in that way it's also a curse, even though like I do believe it's a motivating factor.
Can you like expand a little bit more upon like what you mean by like you think it can be a curse?
Oh yeah, so I think to get more specific and into an example, it's like in my freshman and sophomore year of college, I was a song girl, and I think it was a little bit more blown up than what it would be because I was the only Asian, and so I feel like I had this duty or responsibility to represent Asians or to be like I guess a role model for like younger Asian Americans. But to me, it was like, that's a lot of pressure too, And so it was that, and just being on a dance team, and also grades for me have always been like just like a huge thing because I had that insecurity of like people looking at me like I'm dumb and I don't deserve to like be at USC. And so I really felt the need to keep that up. And so basically I was trying to be really like perfect in everything, and it's a curse because I feel like now or always I've felt the need to exceed what I've already accomplished. And so it's almost like I never want to peak. I never want people to be like, oh, she peaked in like freshman year because she was a song girl. I want it to be like, oh, fuck, now she's like famous. See, that's like my thought process was like, okay, now that I did song, I have to be famous for people to be like, oh my God, she's still going. She didn't peak. She's not going down. Like, she's still going. And so,
oh my God,
I think that's where the curse comes in, because there's only so much I can do before I get to that breaking point. And I feel like I like throughout this thing that I'm trying to accomplish, there are obviously like mental breakdowns. And I think that's where I'm also learning about myself, because I get to figure out, okay, I'm doing too much, but because it's my personality, those breakdowns don't mean a lot, because the next day I'm like, okay, back on it, let's get famous.
She's like, okay, that's the only breakdown that I can afford for the week. I've like met the quota, I met the cap.
No, I used to like my breakdowns, it was almost scheduled. I would have a monthly one.
Oh my God, stop!
Where it was very toxic, but I would like disappear from like my friends. I wouldn't talk to my family. I would just be closed off because I was so pissed that I was breaking down, because I was like, I have no time to cry.
I'm freaking out. Like you would get so upset that it let you that you let it bother you that much. Right?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Do you feel like that as well?
Well, because you know me, like I don't like feeling content. Like I don't know, for me, so it's not like me trying to be famous. I don't want to be famous, but for me it's more like you only live life once. Like, why feel satisfied with this, even though that may be like close to 100% just in the moment with like, I don't know, your willingness and the capability, like maybe in the moment that is all you need really to feel happy and satisfied. But for me, it's like never enough. But recently, because of quarantine, it was just kind of like, I mean, we joked about it last time, but me going 200 miles per hour, it's crazy because I feel like I psych myself out. But also I don't like showing people that. Maybe like one of the few friends I do show like is like Hana, and I'm like, I'm freaking out. Like I'm stressed. I'm really stressed, but I'm very good at like vocalizing it. I don't really ever shut anybody off. I like to tell my close friends, family, like, don't talk to me right now because I'm freaking out because of X, Y, and Z. And then I'll have like a couple hours and then I'll be like, okay, I feel better because blah, 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 blah. I don't know. But yeah, it's like, I was going to ask you this really specific question and it's kind of weird.
It's okay.
Do you feel like when you're stressed, like does your brain feel so high? Like it's like so stimulated that it's like, if I had to draw it out, it's like your brain is shaking a little bit. Like,
oh my God.
It's just like,
that visual is like so perfectly, like that was perfect.
you know what I'm talking
No,
about?
yeah.
Like the brain feels like it's being shaken up, just the brain itself, like this, like a constant frequency vibration.
Yeah.
And like I tell myself like, okay, don't be stressed, like calm down. I think that's why I love to breathe, like,
Yes, breathing.
because like I don't even know what's stressing me out, but I feel stressed and it's just like my brain feels like this.
Oh,
Is it almost like, okay, I don't know if it's for you, but it almost feels like when I'm not stressed, it's like, am I being lazy? Or it's like I should be stressed about something, because to me, like, it's almost, I don't know, this sounds like kind of crazy, but stress and like hardship is like the only way I kind of know I'm working hard, or I'm like or I really want something. But I guess in a way that could be bad too, because it shouldn't always be like that. But when I feel like okay and content, that's when I also get stressed, because there's always that thing in the back of my mind where it's like, you can always do better.
Yeah. I don't want to bring in social media because this is like a whole other conversation, but when I am in states like that, I'll see people like who humble me, right? Like, oh, they started a business and they're my age, or they make X amount and it's they don't work a 9 to 5. They own all these jewelry, pieces of clothing that I want, but I don't know, don't have the luxury of affording right now. So it's like, all right, so this is not where I need to stop. Like I need to keep going to be able to obtain that. So for me, it's not so much like I thrive on stress, because I really don't. I have a really low stress tolerance.
Oh, I see.
But for me, it's like I said, like you only live once, so why be content with like,
Right.
if you were capable of reaching this, right?
Yeah.
Like not easily, but you were able to reach it. Why not push yourself to like go
Exactly.
even more?
Yeah.
So my only fear is that I've recently realized is just like, am I too focused on the future? Like, am I too focused on what I'm trying to obtain?
Wow. I have so many thoughts, because I think that like, honestly, I think I used to be like go, let's go fucking get the bag, let's go get the best job ever, like let me post about it on social media, like I want like really big things. But I feel like there was kind of like a switch for me, and why that is, I'm not too sure, but I think I've become so fixated on being present and being content that I'm no longer like stressed out when I'm having a day off. I'm like no longer stressed out when I'm like resting, because I think it used to be like that. Like I always needed to be like high anxiety. Like that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I have a paper due in 4 hours. Like let me just write out this 10-page paper. And then I think it got too overwhelming to a certain point, and I was like, what am I doing all of this for? Because as soon as I would reach that next goal, it would be like,
There's another bigger
goal, and like I never even let myself like enjoy it. Like I never let myself like enjoy the successes and like the accomplishments, because it was always like, okay, next. And so I'm learning to really like celebrate everything. like celebrate like, oh wow, like I'm proud of myself for taking a mental health day. I'm proud of myself for checking in and being like, oh, I feel stressed out right now. Let me do a breathing exercise. And so just like practicing the awareness, I think has been like, I mean, we talk about awareness all the time, but I think that's how I have like learned to check in with myself and prevent burnout. Because that's where I got like really, really, really burnt out. So
I think that links a lot to like how Julie was talking about her content, where it's like you feel like if you can do this, why not do this? It's always like an ongoing kind of thing, but I also think that's based on personality as well. I think the ability and the privilege to be able to just take a day off and be okay with it and not panic, because that gives me stress. If I spend a whole day just like for myself, and for myself means like, I don't know, like when people do self-care like nails and facial, I just start panicking. Like there's a time where I was literally like, let me take a self-care day. I was literally getting my eyelashes done, and as I was going through a panic attack. I was like laying there and I have to be so still, but I was like, I have to go, like I have to go immediately. I am so stressed right now. Yeah. And so I don't know if that's like personality based, but yeah, I think it's different for everyone, because it's so hard for me to do that. Like to just be, just slow down, I guess.
Yeah. Wow, I feel really called out. She really just called me out on my nails and my facials. I'm surprised you didn't call me out on my chiropractor appointments.
That's funny.
There you go.
Yeah. But in terms of like, so you seem pretty goal oriented. Yeah, right? Like, let me cross this off. Like, for me, it's such a satisfying feeling. And, like, it's so funny because I actually don't like it when the to-do list is short. Like, I want it to be long, so then I'm just, like, crossing everything off. And it's like, oh, I finished that. Like,
oh my God, I do that all the fucking time.
You guys just make one task 5.
No, I literally split them up.
Yeah, because I'll write, I need to, do the laundry, but like the whites and the blacks and the colors, like, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't write that down on my to-do, but like analogy for work stuff, right? There's the bigger umbrella and then the specific thing I need to do. But have you ever felt like, I felt this maybe once or twice, but because I'm so fixated on like achieving that goal, once you've achieved it, Hannah, you briefly brought it up, but like it's just so not satisfying. Also, right? Like it's like, I was working so hard towards this. The return, the ROI, God, it's not as great as I wanted it to be. It's like, well, damn, like, I mean, not like why did I work so hard towards it, but it's like, wow, that was so anticlimactic. Kind of.
And I think that's why I feel like we're the same, in that once we get that goal, and because we have that feeling of, oh, that's it. That's when we like, okay, then let's go for this, because this is better, and like this will give me more. And then it just keeps going, because nothing is ever enough, almost.
That's so sad.
That's why I mean, because I have a little bit of that as well, but like a little bit.
But I know you do, because just of like the past and stuff.
Right. But I think that's why I'm like trying to appreciate the process a bit more, because the process is like literally 90% of it. And though I'll be like in it and I'll be like complaining about shit, I also like try, not that I succeed at all, but I try to be like, oh wow, I'm really doing this. Like I'm really like, you know, like writing sentence after sentence, like achieving like thing after thing to get to this next goal.
I also want to say that I think both sides, like the goal oriented and like those who can like really slow down and be present, neither is like good or bad. And I think what frustrates me is the stigma that the go people, that's always bad, because I think that personality and that trait like is what is motivating and is what has gotten me to like achieve the things that I have achieved. And I think people to always be like, you're not taking time for yourself, but and all that, like, oh, that personality is gonna burn you out. I think that's very different for each person, because like I said earlier, sometimes it's motivating and sometimes it's paralyzing, and both ways there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. I like that. It's not like good or bad. It's like, it's literally just like you're different. Like you can't really compare.
Exactly.
And for me personally, I think because I'm naturally a go, it is nice though, like, right, like once in a while when I am reminded, because recently too, my boyfriend was telling me that he was talking to somebody, and they were just saying like, you know, sometimes the early bird doesn't get the worm. And that reminded me of what we had talked about, Hannah, about, you know what, by the time you're 30, everything averages out anyways. Like not you, but like you amongst friends. And I think it like roots deeper than just the surface level for me, like wanting to present myself right well. And that is also rooted from growing up in such a Korean American community of just like pleasing others. And I don't know, sometimes I'm like, maybe right now it's like, okay, like quote unquote, let's just say leverage in terms of like corporate exposure. But I gotta, by the time we're 30, like it's really, it's gonna average out.
Yeah.
It's gonna average out. So
That's like comforting to hear. Yeah.
yeah,
I feel the one of the cons of like go people is that feeling like it's like, oh, I have to get ahead to be successful. And like when what you said, early bird, sometimes it's complete opposite. Like those who you saw or you thought would be like the CEOs of everything, like they end up at places that you consider, I guess, like not as great as where you are in a way. So yeah, I agree with that.
Damn.
And I think that was my fear. What you just said, like the people you thought were going to be CEOs, right? Because I feel like growing up, especially within the church, so many like cheap son names. Oh, Julie's so good at this. Oh, Julie must be good at this. Oh, Julie like is gonna, go places. Like they would always say that. And it was so much pressure. Like, you guys know, like just and news in the Korean community travels so freaking quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's also why freshman year was kind of rough for me.
Freshman year in
of college. Just like, I think that's also why I just didn't want to be in anything.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I wouldn't necessarily say I was ever afraid of rejection. Although I will say freshman year is the first time I got rejected from a club. It changed me. One rejection changed me.
Or kind of just opened your eyes to realize that like everything in life, a lot of it is just like luck or who you know in a way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also the Korean community thing, that plays a huge part, and I think why so many of us like Korean Americans like want to do so well too. It's not only like the tiger parents, it's the fact that whatever you do will go around and everyone will know. Or what you don't do.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that like just the Korean community, I always say like, oh, it's toxic. But of course there's a flip side to it. Like it could be motivating to be like, oh, like my mom's going to be able to like talk about like our accomplishments because she's proud. But I think at a certain point I started to like literally like resent the fact that like my parents were so involved in the Korean community, because I think I misunderstood their motivations. Like I always thought like, not always, but there was a point when I started to think like, oh, my parents only want me to become like a doctor or lawyer so that they can brag to their friends. But it was never really that. It was more like, we want these like possible career choices for you because it's gonna make it so that you're financially like stable, so that you'll like be okay in the future and you'll have like a good like backing. And so I think like my judgment of them, like that was really, really misguided. Like it wasn't so that they could just brag to their parents, though that is a little bit it's an add-on, small benefit,
A topping.
yes, garnish. Ultimately like it's not that. So I think being in the Korean community can be both toxic and motivating, because you get to like
Yeah.
It's nice to be like, oh,
You know this?
Like-
Oh yeah, I'm related to her.
yeah.
Literally everyone's related to each other in our community.
It's so crazy because the whole idea of like pushing your kid to like go that STEM route of like doctor, lawyer, it's so crazy because I just recently talked to my mom about it. And I was just telling her how much pressure it was that she pushed me to want to pursue that career. And she was just like, wait, hold your horses. Like, who said that? And I was like, yeah, you would like always push me to like blah, blah, blah. She's like, no, I never. And it was so crazy because just the narrative was so twisted in my head. Because in elementary school, so then she was like, no, you came to me and you were like, you want to be a bone doctor. And so I as in my mom was like, just like, you know, encouraging me. So that's why she was like, yes, you can do it. You can do it. You can become a doctor. And then it's so crazy because just like I connected that like, oh my God, that made her so happy. What I said made her so happy. That must be what she wants me to do. And so, I don't know, somewhere in middle school and high school, it was like, oh, that's what my mom wants me to do. And so, you know, I think for her, it was like because I had mentioned this in like elementary school, early middle school, she was trying to encourage me. And that's why she was like, oh, so-and-so's daughter is a doctor. Oh, so-and-so's son is pursuing medical school. Like, and to me, though, that was translated as like, oh, my mom really wants me to go into this route. And so I remember just like internalizing this, I don't know, just this like fear and like, oh my God, my mom wants me to become this, but I don't want to become this. And so then that I did blame on my mom, right? But recently talking about it with her, recently as in maybe like last year, I don't know, last year, 2 years ago, she was like, no, you can be whatever you want. Like, you were the one that came to me and said you wanted to be a doctor. So I was just trying to support you by telling you so-and-so's daughter is a doctor and so-and-so's son is pursuing this route and research and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
How crazy is that?
That's crazy because I feel like I went through the exact same fucking thing. Like, but mine was always when I was younger. Like, obviously I was like, I want to be famous, you know?
Yes.
And so when I was going to college, my parents, this whole Song Girl thing, I did not want to do it. I never like touched a pom-pom in my life and I didn't want to. But then my parents were like really pushing me to audition. And I was like, oh, they just want to do this so that they can like, you know, because they want me to do it. And they want me to say like, you know, oh, my daughter's a Song Girl. But later what I realized is that, because later I was like, Mom and Dad, I feel like you pushed me into doing something that I didn't want to do at that time. But then their response was like, what are you talking about? Like, we pushed you to do that because you wanted to be famous. And we think that this is the best route for you to get to that, like, your end goal. And so, like, I feel like I also twisted it into being like, Mom and Dad, like, you want me to be famous. And it's like, no, Kara, you wanted to be famous, you know? So, wow, I really felt that. Because then you realize like that it was my decision, or they took it as that, or they've seen it as that the whole time.
It's crazy how like trying to be encouraging about something can be misconstrued as like, I want this for you. Because you don't realize like you have to be careful with your words. And like what you share, because they're not getting the constant updates like in your brain that you're making. So
this is like perfect cue for, I swear, this one quote your therapist maybe told you. It's like my mantra now. I don't know. Uncommunicated expectations are predetermined disappointments. I guess this part is Hannah's part. This is a Hannah quote because it's not disappointments, but isn't this so fitting too?
Oh,
like,
God,
because we didn't communicate to our parents, right? Or like if we had expressed the way we had felt sooner rather than after the fact, you know, then we probably would have saved ourselves a lot of stress or or just like self-sabotage and like because you know, I was really struggling like, I need to be that perfect daughter and like be a doctor because, you know, my parents quote unquote want it. And
Yeah.
if I think that for me was the biggest, like being a quote unquote failure for me. It was like, oh, but all this time it wasn't what they wanted this entire time.
Right. Right. I mean, for you, Kara, like, okay, so I always like refer back to this, but in 2017, I had tweeted out a photo at a USC football game of the Song Girls, and the caption was, "When you meet the minimum diversity requirement," and it was just all white girls, one Asian girl, and one black girl. And then 2 years later, I followed up and I said, wow, 2 years later, my sister is now the diversity requirement.
That's actually crazy.
Oh my god.
It's also funny because I don't have Twitter, so I did not even know that she tweeted.
I remember.
Oh my
I remember
gosh.
the picture.
That's wild. So going into that, like, I feel like, yeah, Song was like a huge, I think I learned more about myself because I did Song than I thought I would ever. Mainly because, you know, obviously I showed up to this audition, like, being one of, I think there was 3 or 4 other Asian girls out of 80 girls in that whole audition room. And on the whole judges panel, which had about like 10 people, none of them were Asian. So I already went into this thinking like, okay, I have this against myself. Like, me being Asian is a disadvantage right now. But that also like gave me the mindset like, okay, fuck it, just do it and do it better than everyone else, you know. And so I like got through like until the final round, and I ended up getting rejected. And like, what's funny is that, okay, all rejection hurts, but this one was like different because I felt like, oh, I know that there's only like one Asian and one black girl, and I know that they already have an Asian girl. And so this rejection was more like, it just sucked because it was like, it felt like I could do nothing about it. Like, no matter how great I danced at the audition, because of my Asianness, I was rejected. And then 2 weeks later I got accepted, which was also just like, I just felt like, you know,
like,
I felt like,
give me an answer.
yeah, because I was like, what am I? What am my identity crisis? But then also like she called me in and they literally just threw pom-poms at me, and I was like, what the fuck?
5 pounds, 10 pounds.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. That must have hurt.
And then so I was like, okay, now I'm that Asian girl. And then once I got on the team, that spread through the Korean community like wildfire. And it scared me because like all these moms are coming up to my mom and being like, oh, like your daughter is like representing like all of this, like the Korean Americans, and like we're so proud of her, and like we can't wait till she's out there, and like all this stuff. And it like freaked me out because I was already dealing with feeling like I'm left out because I was Asian, and because on the team, I mean, I obviously joined late, and so they already knew like each other, and I was the only one who wasn't in Greek life. So that was like also a huge thing. I just felt like, okay, I'm already Asian.
I'm already Asian.
See, that's like crazy that I even thought that. Like, I'm already Asian. I'm also not in Kappa Kappa or whatever. And so, yeah, I just felt like a lot of things were against me. And because of that, I had a very negative attitude in Song, and which I regret. But I think it was also a learning experience because I realized like that was the first time I didn't really feel the need to like try to be white, or I never felt the need to like go into Greek life because it's kind of contradicting, but because of all the Korean Americans that are like, oh my gosh, like Kara, you're the Asian one, I felt like I had to fit that position and like be proud of like who I was, and like being, even though I was like considered, I don't like saying token Asian, I would it just helped me like, I guess, love like my Asianness. And I always like, I felt like I never really tried to be white after like middle school, you know, when you're like, I hate K-pop, you know. I feel like I kind of accepted it before that, but this especially, I was like, okay, like I feel pretty like confident in like who I am, I guess, as a Korean. And so I think that was like a really good experience for like myself and just like for everything. And so it went from mom and dad, like, you forced me to do this, to like, oh, thank you for letting me experience like something that will, I guess, confirm like my Korean American identity.
Your
in a way.
cholaness.
Yes.
Yeah.
The chola girl in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever did you ever have experiences where people were like, where you felt the, oh, I'm speaking on behalf of all Asian people ever?
Or like dancing on behalf.
Yeah.
You know, pumping that fist, that V
know.
for all the
No,
Korean Americans.
literally. No, yeah, for sure. And it ranged from ages, really. Like, there's it was weird, but like young girls, I started to notice a lot of the Asians would obviously like come up to me, and they're like, oh, like, I wanted to be a song girl for so long, and it's like, and you know, they're young, and so they just say whatever they want. They're like, but I always see like there's only one that's allowed on the team.
That's so sad.
No, it's really sad, and like it like,
It's true.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. And so I didn't really know how to honestly respond.
Yeah.
And like, so they would ask me like, oh, like, how did you do it? Like, how did you beat all the other girls? And it's really
Yeah.
like, honestly, still to this day, don't really know how to respond to them, because that is just how it is in the program. And sometimes you just got to work with what you got. And for me, it was more like, I honestly don't think I had the right mentality like going into it, but once I got there, I feel like my change in mindset was really what I guess was like impactful. And so yeah, like, other than like the younger girls and like trying to be an inspiration to them, I mean, I always just say like, do your best, you know, if you really want it, then like you can do it. And if timing works in terms of just like who's on the team, then it works out. But yeah, other than that, like, just like friends and like even older like people would just like, a lot of times we're walking outside in like our uniforms, or we try to cover it up, but you know, we're obviously in red lipstick and everything. And like one time there's this not old but like older Asian guy. We were walking outside and he was just like, oh, like, thanks for representing like all the Asians who like want to be, I guess, like seen as, I don't even remember what he was saying, but he was just like thanking me for being the Asian on the team. And I just like, a lot of times like I didn't know how to you know, feel, because to me it's like, what am I doing for you to thank me, in a way. So in that way I felt more pressure to be like, oh, like, do I have to say something? Do I have to be like, yes, like, I'm here to, because I want to empower all these Asians? It was like, I felt like I didn't not deserve, but I couldn't fit into that like role model role that people were like starting to see me as. And so like, so for example, like in my old volunteer group Las Niñas, like they wanted me to like speak as just like my experience being one of the minorities on the team. And yeah, it was just things like that where I feel like it was like a lot of pressure to fit into that role, that I didn't really go into it thinking that I was gonna be seen as that.
I don't know. Do you almost feel like it was weird that people like,
It was like, I didn't think like making the team I would like have even this like ability to impact, I guess. I didn't think it was that big. I honestly didn't think it was a big deal at all. I thought it would just be dancing. But because I was Asian, it came with a whole nother set of like feeling of responsibility that I think other girls like don't really have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And even if it was like unsaid, it was, you know, dad, like, it's not a bad thing, because I think he was just pointing it out, but he was like, you do realize that like I can tell you don't like to make it a big deal and you don't like to share it, but you are the Asian and you are like a role model to all the young Asian girls who don't even try out because they're scared of the fact that they're Asian, and that will like be a disadvantage to them.
Right.
So
Well, how did you like cope with like, you know, people expecting you to be the Asian representative and to like you said, like come out and like make statements or be like, yes, like, you know, like I'm doing this for all of like the young Asian girls.
Yeah, I felt like because I didn't I didn't feel like I had the place to like, you know, go to a large group like gathering and literally like make a speech. The way I did it was not falling into the pressures of like joining Greek life or posting a certain picture like how the others are doing or acting a certain way. It was really like be true to your Korean self, and just your confidence will like obviously exude, and like people will be able to tell like, oh, this girl isn't trying to be like white and she isn't trying to be like the others. Like I still kept with my C3 friends. People still called me like a fob because like I had mainly Asian friends and stuff like that. It was
Within your team?
or no, like when I like freshman year when I was in KCM and stuff, like my friends would be like, oh, she's turning into like a K-pop star and stuff like that. And which is stuff like I'm okay with because I am still like super into K-pop, K-drama. And so I just made sure like I was tuned in with myself and I didn't change any of that, I guess.
Right.
There were just so many thoughts that like rushed into my head because like, I mean, I think it's so sad, like what you said, right? Like when some of the little girls were like, "Oh, there's only like one Asian on the team," like that it's so sad. Like, and I wish for your experience, how you were saying how you didn't know how to respond. It was probably because, like, you know, you probably wish people would just look at you as Kara, right? Not, I don't know. I'm sure sometimes not for being Korean, but just like Kara, right?
Yes.
But also at the same time, like, because I had people to look up, like if I was a little kid, like I had people to look up to, like you, as an example.
Yeah.
And that's why I am confident in being Korean American, right? So like I can see where like your dad, like, and you taking that, you know, pride in being the Asian representative of, you know, Song Girls, like I could see how it can impact a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think you pointed out such a good point that I couldn't really get out into words, but it was, I think I also partially didn't know how to respond to those things because of that wish to be the Asian, you know, American, but also to wanting to be just like I'm just a team member and I'm just like a dancer on the team that got on because I'm a dancer, and you know, for like I want to be seen for like my talents. Yeah. And so I think that was a very good point. But
right, like at a basic, like bringing it down to the very like ground level, like you're just a human.
And I think that has to do also like, this just reminded me of this has nothing to do with song, but it reminded me of one time like someone saw one of my like hip hop routines and then they were like, oh, like that seems so intense or so hard for like a girl, like you're so good. And to me it was like, oh, I don't see that as a compliment, even though I know it's coming from a good place. It's like, can you just see me for me without comparing it to literally something that's so irrelevant? It's like
gender.
It's like, so for just because I'm a girl I'm good, like it's like just see me for my talent rather than comparing it to anything else. So I think
right, because I think that like when they focus on like points like your gender, your race, or even like the people that you're connected with, it minimizes like your actual accomplishments or like who you are. So yeah, that totally makes sense. Damn.
excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, even in high school, I remember when people were like, oh my gosh, you have a sister? Like, you're like mini Hana. And so I think like even that, even from my perspective, I was always like, damn, I don't know how it must feel to like constantly be compared from like a older sister type thing. And then even like with my own personal experiences, everyone was always like, oh, like you're Kara's sister? Like, you're the Asian Song Girl sister? I'm like, yeah. So I think just in general, like, comparison hurts. But also, like, of course, I'm just like, I'm proud of you. Like, it's just like, oh, you're literally just a different human than me.
right.
So, yeah.
I was wondering, do you and Rachel get compared a lot? This is so random, but
I think when we were younger, So I don't want to speak for her because I don't really know, like, because we're sisters. I don't know about you guys, but there's just like a certain way I view her, or I think like I feel like I'm a lot more family oriented, and I think sometimes she finds it easier to tell her friends. But like I said, just recently I realized just how different we are. So sometimes we'll talk about it, and she can correct me on the next episode if she listens to this. I feel like it was a lot harder for her to like find her identity because whatever I wore, it was handed down to her and she had to wear. You know, where like I got to pick out everything I wanted. It just, okay, well, it doesn't fit me anymore, so Rachel gets to hand me down. And so that's just like a small example of like her not being able to voice her opinions of what she liked, what she didn't like. We were very, I want to say we were similar when we were younger, but that goes back to like, I just feel like she didn't really have a voice when she was younger. But now we're so different.
Really?
We're so different.
In what ways?
Every single thing.
Sounds like.
Yeah, no, we're so different. No, well, like, no, I'm talking about the most granular things too, like her interests. It's so hard because, for me at least, okay, so I don't know about you guys, but when one of you guys are fighting with your parents, right? I really do want to be on my sister's side, but sometimes it's so hard because I really want to just be on her side for the sake of being on my sister's side, because my parents, you know, like they're a couple, so
Yeah.
they're gonna support one another. So I want to be there for my sister, but I just don't agree with her at all.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I just don't agree with her. So
Do you agree with this?
you know what I mean? Like, I really want to be there to support her and make her not feel like it's 3 against 1. But it's like,
Yes.
but I really,
Right.
really, I can't even bend it a little bit to agree with you.
Oh my gosh, yep.
agree.
I feel that. Well, I feel like I'm shocked that you're shocked. I'm shocked because I feel like, especially during quarantine when we're going through shit, I felt like, did it not feel like 3 against 1
All the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm why are you shocked?
Well, no. Well, I'm just shocked because, like Julie, like you, I'm the older sister, right?
Yes.
And when my parents are getting into shit with Kara, I feel like I try to really take your side.
Yeah.
But the fact that you don't take my side,
Okay.
and I'm over
Let me clarify.
Is that the wasabi in your guys' relationship?
When I say like not taking your side, I will only not take your side when I really don't agree with it, because what's the point? Like to take your side when it's not the side that I agree with. And it's and I think that's based on my personality, because I think my personality is more similar to our parents than yours to our parents.
Wait, and I will say the same thing. I feel like my personality is very similar to my parents, where Rachel's kind of the odd one out in terms of the way she approaches things. Like, but I think it's harder for Rachel because I am the first child. And so because my parents are used to raising a first child that is just like them, they expect the same from her. I'm not saying you have it easy or you have it easy either, but
Right.
you know what I mean? But
No,
because because their first try was me and I'm just like them.
Right.
It's like they expect the same from Rachel. And that's why I feel like sometimes just that pure fact of that
Yes.
is why they also butt heads. Yeah.
I can also see, like, if I put myself in Rachel's shoes, I can see how that could
Paralyze.
yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if it's not my personality, but they don't understand that, and they don't understand that I take things differently, then it seems that I'm just not good enough.
Yeah.
When it's not that. When it's just, I'm just completely different, which is not bad at all.
Yeah.
And I think, once again, parents need to understand that. And I think siblings need to understand that, because I didn't know that about Hannah, honestly. That's why there was so much tension, I think, within the house, because all of us didn't really fully understand what your true personality was like, because you were always just listening to what they said and just doing what they like kind of wanted you to do. I feel like you honestly found yourself more when we also discovered like who you really were.
Yeah.
Agree?
Oh, I think that's a huge like turning point in our family's dynamic and our relationship, because I think like I had like never wanted to like cause conflict within my family, so I would just always like do what they said, get straight A's. Like I was close to a perfect child, I would say. And so when I finally started to find myself and kind of like rebel from the image that like I think my family thought that I was, or from who my family thought that I was, that's where like I felt like my family wasn't really like accepting me for who I was, because it was finally coming out.
After 20 plus years.
No, it was literally
And that's why it came off as like us not accepting you, but for us it was like she was
Who
like this
is
for 20
she?
years.
Yeah.
What is this? Like, is this her just being
rebellion, like 사춘기 coming in hella late.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is it like she didn't get this phase when she was
Puberty.
younger, so she's doing it.
Yeah.
She's doing it now. It's like that's so it's so
Yeah.
odd, and we couldn't really figure it out, I guess.
Mm.
And then we realized, oh, maybe she was being controlled her whole life. And this is who she truly was underneath all of it.
Yeah, and so one thing that really, really like changed Kara and I's relationship was actually when like Kara had texted me, and she texted me this because she's unable to express her emotions. But she's working on that, right?
I'm excited.
But she had texted me like something to the effect of like, oh, I accept you for like who you are, and I want to meet you where you're at. And
Oh my god.
that was like, oh, like it was literally like weight off my shoulders.
Stroke?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was like
Allergies.
truly like weight off my shoulders, because I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that I felt like unaccepted by my family until I was finally accepted.
Because it would come out, because I can't talk about my emotions, it would come out where I'm just mean. We had honestly a really bad relationship for a lot of quarantine. Like I was mean to her, but it came out because I thought it's like you were doing so well and you were like the role model to me. And then for her, and so to me it kind of seemed like, oh, I know you want to achieve, like you want to keep achieving, but you're just not. And so that to me was almost like, oh, like why, you know?
Yeah.
And so that came out of like despite, I guess. That came out in ways of just like I was just being mean, you know? And then I realized like this is just screwing our relationship up. And so that's when I also realized like I also can't have these expectations of her if that's just not even what she wants. And I didn't know that. I thought those are what she wanted. And that's why I was acting that way, because I was like, why the fuck aren't you doing the things to get you there, you know?
Yeah.
But
Wait, oh my gosh. That's like me all the time. Like I'm literally like, okay, well, if you want to get there, for my example, me and my sister, I'm like, well, why aren't you applying to internships? Like, why aren't you like reaching out like to so and so? Like I'm literally always like pestering, like use me, like use me. Like you have an older sister, like who has friends, like use me, right? But that's such a good point. Maybe that's not even what she wants.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not even what she wants.
Yeah.
I think it's also crazy though that like full circle, right? Like you guys, I think it's crazy.
No,
yeah.
yeah.
That I think that realization, and just realizing that like people are actually different.
Yeah.
It sounds so like dumb to say.
No, I had a face when I was like, whoa.
right?
I think it was when our group of friends had our values conversation.
Oh,
was
yeah.
when I realized, whoa,
a big eye opener.
whoa, yeah.
Yeah, because what people value is just, you don't realize like that's just how different people think.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
because like naturally you just think the way that you're thinking is kind of right,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't understand how you're thinking this way, but if you don't even have the knowledge that like people think differently than you do, then you're just gonna be like, what the actual fuck? Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I
Exactly.
think not only parents have to understand how their children are different, but just like friends, siblings, everything.
Just all relationships in general.
And it's also interesting that you're like, oh, maybe Rachel's like this, like you don't know. And it's just crazy that it's kind of the way people think. I feel like it's something that, because you think it's just like normal to think like that, you don't think to say what you actually like I guess value, unless you label it like, let's have a value like conversation, like what do you value, you know, because it's just kind of,
we had an attempt, because when we did it I was like, oh Rachel, like look at this list, like what do you value? I'm sorry, I don't remember the 3, but it was none of the 3 were the same as mine, like very far off. Like I wouldn't have, those 3 wouldn't even have come close to being my like top 10, like I don't know. But so we try to have that conversation, and she was like, why are we talking about this? Because it was so foreign, you know, like we don't really talk about it. And I think being the youngest child, she's so used to like us kind of guiding her or just doing it for her. You know what I mean? So just environment is so crazy. And
yeah, that's true. I would also like to point out that you two are alike. You know, I actually really get along with Rachel.
I know.
I legit, I'm like, I go into her room and I just hang out with Rachel. Like Julie started washing up. She was like, I'm gonna wash my face, take off all my makeup. Meanwhile, like I'm still in Rachel's room.
I didn't even tell them I was gonna wash my face. I was just waiting in my room by myself. I was like, all right, when are they coming into my room? And I was like, okay, like 10 minutes passed, 20 minutes passed. I should probably wash my face. So I was like, all right. Go to the restroom, make myself comfy, and like mid-wash, I'm like, I wonder what Julie's doing. Finally to them. And so she's washing up.
Wait, that's so funny, because as I was talking, because I also like, okay, I know you and I see you like every day, but
I live here. What are you talking about?
But like I feel like I didn't know like that about you, because like you but that's interesting, because
just opposites.
Or do you feel like people are like that with you too, right? Like they kind of know you, but they don't know the extent to those traits.
Yes.
Right? Because I think people know that about me too. Like they know I'm probably like a go-getter, like a self-starter, but I don't think they know to like what extent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that also plays into like when I would have these monthly breakdowns, people would like don't really understand it. And I'm not the type to talk about emotion. And I'm also not the type to kind of show like how much I'm trying. Like I'm not like trying to hide it and like trying to act like, oh, it comes naturally, but I'm also not like I'm like doing like writing out like
studying
everything, or like memorizing literally every single word for that test.
Wow.
And so I think that also comes into
that's the secret sauce.
I have a question. So you, Julie, always like say like, oh, I want to present this packaged view of myself. Like I want people to, you know, see like a very pretty image of me. Do you also feel like that?
Yes. I think that also plays into why I want to keep exceeding what I've done, because if people have this like view of me like, oh, she's perfect, it's like I feel like it's almost like for perfect people you kind of want to see them fall.
Oh shit.
And I don't want, and like my whole thing is like I do a lot of the things I do to like prove people wrong, because I know they like think I'm dumb, or they know I didn't like, or they just think that I didn't deserve it, I guess. And so for me, like proving that to them is like one of my main motivators. And I don't know, like I always question like, is that bad? Because it's like I'm kind of trying to satisfy others around me rather than myself. But if it's a motivator, is it bad? I don't know, but I think that definitely.
Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but as you just said, like you don't want to show people how much effort you put into it. I think that's also like presenting yourself packaged.
Oh yeah.
Like, because I feel like I'm like that too. Like, just because if you don't share it, how do they know? And if you've gotten there, like, I don't know, because like we can all try to get there, and there might have been a lot of like hurdles and stuff, but it's like in the end people only know that you got there if you don't share the middle part, which I'm not like you know, I'm sure you don't hide that from everybody. Like the people who know probably know, people you want to share that with, you probably share with. But I think that is a huge part of the presenting myself perfectly.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I feel like naturally you don't want people to know that you like struggle to, or that you, I don't know, those monthly, I always refer to these monthly breakdowns, which I don't have anymore, but.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Or at least we've been on a 2-month streak, guys.
Yay.
I now no longer go into her room and she's just on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
I think though, okay, let me know if you feel this way too, but sometimes because I want people to know that I'm not just getting this because of money or connections or whatever, sometimes I like to, I'm not saying I like the attention of like my breakdowns or something, but it kind of, not even my breakdowns. I do like showing them that middle part and showing how hard I'm working just so that they know, like, or they don't assume like, oh, you're not doing any work and you're getting these, because that's that's part of like what I want to prove to them, that it's like it's all my doing, I guess. And so in a way, like my hard work is something that I really don't try to hide, but it's also, I'm not trying to like shove it in people's like faces, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I've noticed this about myself. I do think I take on, even though I'm always like, oh, I don't like a victimization mentality, I do think I share a lot of like the struggles that I go through in order to potentially like protect the outcome, if that makes sense. Like if I'm constantly showing people like my vulnerable side, like, oh, I'm having like a hard time with my anxiety, or like I just like have like these like down feelings, I feel like people are better able to understand if I like don't achieve the goal. So it's almost like,
oh shoot,
like showing the imperfections, because I truly like don't believe that I'm gonna like reach my goal.
I don't think I've ever thought like that.
Yeah, that's why I'm so vulnerable with people. Is because I think I was so like told that I'm perfect my entire life. So now like one of the things that I do a lot is like show people I'm not perfect. Like I don't want you guys to set these expectations of me that I've had my entire life, like because I'm unable to handle it anymore.
I think I'm too stubborn. You know, I would never use that word to describe myself, but like for me, I don't know. If somebody had that expectation of me, I'd want to meet it and do more. And like for me, I don't necessarily know if I would share the process, but if somebody were to ever doubt, like you best know I have a desk file of, no, I did this and I did this and I did this. And that's why like, yeah, like just, I do log everything that I do though. And I'm talking about like just right now, currently, like let's say work related, like I write everything down, like to the minute specific number of, I don't know, things that I process. Maybe not the exact number, but a range of numbers, right?
Right.
And everything I'm picking up, so this person knows, yeah, I work really fast, but if I don't respond to you in 1 minute, it's because I'm also doing these other things. And so I don't, yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I think that's also just the personality thing.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah.
Oh, maybe prideful. Maybe not stubborn, but too prideful in myself. Which is crazy because I think everybody goes through, we are ever changing, right?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like as a kid, I really used to be like this. And then I think it died down a lot. Maybe like college. But I think recently it's picked back up a lot.
Like your pridefulness is?
Yeah, like kind of like a, not stubborn, but yeah, like a pride, super, like for a while I felt like I wasn't really competitive anymore, but like this competitiveness within me, like,
it's brewing.
You disagree?
No, I agree.
Like I feel like it died down a bit. For a hot sec, it died down, and then it just like, it's on the rise again.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh, that's so interesting. I'm just thinking because I think exactly like you do.
Wait, and I have a concluding thought to it,
Uh-huh.
actually. I think I used to be like that. And remember, there was a phase when I was like, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
So I was really challenging who I naturally was. Like trying to
Really?
be okay with like if I was going on a date, the person being like super late, or like I was really challenging like not being ticked off by the things that normally tick me off. But I think the conclusion is, I mean, we can all work to become better people, but I want to be at the point where I can be unapologetically myself.
Yeah.
And we're all so different, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I do feel I am pretty open-minded. So, like, yeah, like you do you. But for me, it is a personality thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to live for others, but you know what? If that motivates me,
Then-
if that helps me to be the best version of myself,
right.
in moderation,
Mm-hmm.
everything in moderation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Everything in moderation.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to get to that point where I can be unapologetically myself.
Wow.
Wow.
She said it all, folks.
I think in terms of like, you know, we wanted to touch upon, you know, your breaking point. And it's so crazy because even before, like, I mean, I wanted to share some stories. Kara, I wanted you to share your stories. But in the end, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Like it really is, right? And it's hard. And that's why, Hannah, when you were going through such a hard time last year, do you remember? I was telling you, like, I wish I could help. I just don't know how because it's something you have to realize on your own. And Kara, to your point, however you figure that out, it's subjective. It's, you know, it's just, it's yourself. We're all different. All of us are so different. What might work for you doesn't work for me.
And it goes the same way for even like us, like who have similar personalities. Like what works for you too may still not work for me because
Yeah.
there's so many complexities and just who everyone is, and we're all just so uniquely different. And so it's so important to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. And I think like, I don't know. I was talking to somebody today and I just feel like 2020, everybody had the chance to like ultra, like, what's higher than ultra? Like infinity, infinity, introspective reflection, like be able to reflect on themselves. At least for me, I feel like everyone I've talked to since quarantine happened, everyone just kind of understands other people a little better. Not by a lot, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like everybody's become a little bit more open-minded.
For sure.
Or maybe that's just me. Or maybe that's just me being optimistic. I don't know. But
No, I agree.
I still know people who are very opinionated, very strong-headed. But it's like knowing that, just like I said, like being okay with not agreeing with the other person. So
Yeah.
That's I'm gonna add to it. I feel like everyone in the beginning, or it's different of course for everyone, but in the beginning for pandemic, for me personally, it was like such a pessimistic view of like what it was. But now like realizing how much I wouldn't have experienced if I was out in the world, still on that go, still breaking down every month, not realizing that there is a possibility for a balance. I think I only realized that in quarantine because I had to literally just live with my thoughts. I had to like that go is also part of like me being like, let me get away from my head because I hate that voice in my, you know, in my head. But now it's like, oh, I learned like, oh, I have to live with it because it's fucking me.
But yeah, wow, this was a very insightful conversation. It's so crazy that I can hear you through the wall, but we've never talked about all this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
I texted to you though.
But yeah, if you guys want to check out Kara's Instagram, it's KaraSkye__. Is there anything else you want to plug?
No. Nothing else.
Okay. Yeah, support her dancing, support her modeling, support Chaotic 3.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Bulgogi.podcast and on Twitter at Bulgogi Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at HannahCat. If you don't know how to spell it by now, what the hell?
Yeah. Actually, though. Yeah, me too. I don't want to spell it out. I'm not in the mood. It's bejulified.
Alrighty.
Yay.
Yay. Okay.
One, two,
Two,
three.
Oh, that was so scary.
I forgot. The Kara doesn't listen to us. She ain't a Kogi.
Oh.
Ooh, it's a ooh, not an ah. It's a ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, on three, okay? Okay.
Ooh.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh. Just do it. Be
Wait,
confident.
am I high?
No.
Oh, Annie, no. Oh, Annie, no. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
She's
She's getting
prepping.
ready. She's
Okay.
You can do it too?
Boom, 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 boom.
allergy stroke.
Stroke.
Okay, actually, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was great. That was great.
Okay.
Bye.
Right on.
Thanks
Right
for
on.
having me.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.